What? I think there's no words to describe a must-win game ended up to be a nightmare for the Houston Dash. Well, welcome all once again to another edition for the Orange and Blueprints on the BCS Soccer Network. I'm your host and media credential Manny Olivares here, recapping, thinking about all this game that has come by this past weekend. But I'm not here alone to suffer this pain. We got Diego, who is crying in the sidelines.
No, I'm just kidding. How's it going, everybody? Happy to be back. Sad to be talking about what we have to talk about. There's plenty to discuss about the performance, about what it means, about implications, but I'm happy to not do it alone. And damn, this man already bored from me talking. Dang, this man
Yeah,
already bored. No, 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 no. But yeah, sad results from a pretty positive late stress run from the Dash. I think there's a lot to break down when it comes to this Angel City FC game, and I guess it's time to look at kind of how the team can prepare for Casey.
yeah. I think it's just very just like we'll talk about a lot more. Just I think just this past whole last 2 months, this month and last month, every game was a must win game,
Mm-hmm.
just because of big deep of a hole that the Dash have did in the first half of the season. You know, playing as one of the worst teams in the NWSL, you know, and just had the miraculous drive of the beginning of the second half to push them all the way where they are right now to above, just about to hit, outside of the playoffs. And yet, at this point, we can confidently say they are not making it, even though mathematically they are still in. But let's recap real quick, just to get everyone's up to speed about the thoughts about this game. It was on Sunday afternoonish, started at 4 p.m. At the game at Los Angeles against the Angel FCC. I feel like even since the ball kicked, I feel like it was all Angel City. Angel City was up on our first half, was really not giving the Dash any momentum. I feel like the Dash were just letting them run through them. In the first half, it was just, even though the possession was kind of equal, but I feel like the shots, it really, just in the first half, Angel City had 14 shots to the Dash. Of course, only four were more target, but compare 14 shots to the four that Dash had in the first half. It just shows you like how much the Dash wanted this. I mean, the Angel City wanted this. They were on the Dash's throat on this. I think, even though, like we mentioned last week, playoff implications, even though right now a win for Angel City basically creates no excitement for the playoffs. I think because they both sit on relatively the same points right now, 27 points, and both teams are 6 points away from the playoffs. And so it's really, really anticlimactic at this point. But before I get ahead of myself, two goals came in the second half, and highly due to the defense, highly due to the defense's fault. Especially, I think one of note of Abby Smith. I think Abby Smith gifted both goals. First goal was kind of hard. Okay, we kind of see. Remember, her decision making was not the best. You're like, okay, what she has to do for that. But the second one just how can I put this nicely? It's like, oh my god. I think that was the only thing I had. That was the only words I say. Oh my god, what's happening? What is she doing? She literally just runs to get the ball, but stands there, does nothing decisive, and let the ball run past her, and is like, and just literally left an open net for Newell's Hughes to get the second goal. And it was like, and that was it. And I was like, when you saw that sequence of play, that's just the Dash shooting themselves on the foot on the must win opportunities, on the get points. I think that performance itself showed the Dash in one season. Even though they had good moments, that second half, this they came back alive. The Dash came back, but they always shoot themselves in the foot. So I just want to know before going your thoughts, Diego. How do you view this game?
I mean, it's disappointing to see this kind of I would say the start of the end game chapter of the Dash's second half of the season, and start like this in a two nil draw. Even worse to go off a poor performance. It, this
Yeah,
man's sleepy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
it's been a long day.
Oh, same here, man. Same here. No, I mean it was certainly a long day for the Dash. The performance just didn't click. It was like you mentioned, poor decision making, just not able to get into the 50-50 balls, not able to really use that lateral movement that Angel City's so dangerous in. I noticed especially two or three instances where Angel City would get the ball, lose it, and then that's the Dash's opportunity to really get through past the defense and kind of like go into goal, but that was never really found. Um, it was just a poor performance in the way where it's just it was just not their night. I mean, LA is one of the tougher places to play in the NWSL, so that probably played a big factor into this game and kind of like the mentality towards it. But um, I mean, you you had a tough test against Angel City, and now you're going up against I mean an even tougher test in KC, and I mean you mentioned we're 6 points behind the playoff line, and that means a guaranteed win against KC in order to give any possibility for playoffs. And so, I mean, I don't know. There's not much else to say other than just it was just kind of a night to forget, an evening to forget for the Houston Dash.
I think you're right. I think it's you hit the point on that. I think it's just a night to forget. Reason why? Because I mentioned like just the performance itself, it was not really enticing. And I think if you look at the lineup, if you look at the performances, the players you were looking for to create a spark had the worst game of the second half of the season. Avery Patterson wasn't on her best. I think she was actually quiet. I didn't really hear her. I think the second half sensation of Kiki Van Zanten as well. She was quiet. She didn't do anything productive. And of course, your striker that that you bought, that you brought in to do something.
Hmm.
She has become one of the. She wasn't doing anything effective on the front line, and you brought her to be creative, to be decisive, and she didn't do it. Of course, Fabrice, not because of fitness or anything. Fabrice likes to do the halftime substitution of their strikers. So it's
Hmm.
like she didn't have the chance to maybe get the momentum from the second half to get pause. But I think it was that. It was really, really, of course, the performance of Abby Smith in the back was also put the nail in the coffin on the second goal as well. I think my question to you is that uh, I think it's just like what can we expect from? I think we know that pushing for playoffs was the long-term goal. I think it came faster now with the recent performances. I think with this result as well, that came out with Angel City, does was the team pushing past expectations at this point of their rebuilding process?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the expectations were blown through the roof this season, and then we're talking like this season is over. I'm not trying to be super optimistic when I say this, but the season isn't over. There is still a chance to make the playoffs, and I would at least like to make my assessment when that is confirmed to be to me mathematically either possible or impossible. And I mean, you take a team like the Dash, who were last, who were directionless, who were really without any like core identity that would take them into success, and then you see them now, and you're like, yes, this was from any standard that the Dash want to play, I would say a horrendous performance. But this is still an identity, and you still kind of see the way that the Dash want to play, and that's night and day. That is really night and day, and I think an identity is what's going to take you from being a, 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 a really poor team and turn yourselves into what is a playoff contender, what is a trophy contender. And I think this Dash team might have been performing above their expectations, but that's the expectations of the media, of the fans, of everyone that paid attention to the Dash from an outside perspective looking in. From from the inside perspective, they've been saying this all season: playoffs, 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 playoffs. And so, I mean, it just really depends on how you want to label expectations because I mean, this Dash team, the first half and the second half, the rise of Avery Patterson from being a rookie standout to a shining sophomore. These all of these narratives come together to form a Dash team that might miss the playoffs, but have certainly won a lot of people over when it comes to how this team is and how this team is going to look like.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think I think it was a no-brainer answer. Like, of course, this team was surpassing their expectations. I think we thought very little of this team, but I think the it's a core group. It's a core. I think if you put money, I think you keep build on the pieces you have. I think maybe on 90% you keep the starting 11 that started against Angel City. Maybe with the exception of Putigam with Maggie Graham comes back, healthy. Maybe you still keep Putigam as a experienced, younger central midfielder. And I think everyone, of course, except everyone's going to say Abby Smith. You think? I think before I continue on, you think how vital is Jane Campbell to this team with the performance that Abby Smith gave this past weekend. I'm not
I
criticizing. I'm not criticizing Abby
yeah,
Smith.
I
It's just I think Abby Smith has become a not how you would say a journey player. I think she has the talent to become a starter in the end of itself and the goalkeeper. But I think this game's like this, yeah, like this past weekend and other games, you should show sort of very inconsistency. I
yeah,
feel like
I kind of want to like just put in a performance of like the games where we've seen Abby Smith concede 3 or 4 goals. It's because she's had one of the most inconsistent defenses in the entire
yeah,
NWSL. Half of the time, Abby Smith didn't know which 4 players were going to be in front of her on that defensive line, and so I I
you can
think
say
this
that about Jane,
performance
but Jane does better at times.
at times that's what I'm kind of like I want to get at of like the fact that yes, this was you said you didn't want to criticize her performance against Angel City. No, I am all for criticizing her performance. She was poor.
Yeah,
The decision making wasn't there. The positioning wasn't there. That conceded at least one of the
yeah,
2 goals, and it's a poor performance. You can say it as it is. However, labeling this performance as the kind of hey,
nail the
how
coffin.
vital is Jane Campbell? That's a question that we've had the answer to since the beginning of the season. Jane Campbell is the starter of this team for a reason because she's
Mm,
still one of the most elite goalkeepers in the NWSL, despite the fact that she was out for almost half the season. And so the question of how vital Jane Campbell is because of a poor Abby Smith performance doesn't make sense in my head because how vital Jane Campbell is in this and on this team that has nothing to do with Abby Smith. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter when it was Heather Hinz. It didn't matter when it was Abby Smith. So, I mean, I just I don't think Jane Campbell's the type of player where her value as a player is the person who's competing for that spot. I don't think this is a case of a Ryan Garris where we've seen her put up some great performances, use her speed, use her versatility, but sometimes lack defensively, sometimes not be on the front foot. And then you see players like Dujon kind of like have those sneakily good performances kind of compete on that fact. I think that's a more fair argument to say that Dujon causes us to ask that question of, hey, is Ryan Garris that effective of a player in the midfield? But when it comes to that goalkeeping position, we have all known who is that number one player since the beginning of the season. And Abby Smith, despite her poor performance, I'm still backing her to be a really good option for us because of the fact that throughout the season, pretty much she's done what she's supposed to, including having a couple of really good performances
Hmm.
that were very necessary in keeping the streak alive for this second half of the season. I would argue Jane being down and you needed a player to kind of like be that reliable force, you wouldn't have the streak if it weren't for Abby Smith. And
Hmm.
so I don't like the question of, oh, does this Abby Smith performance tell us something? Of course it'll tell us something that Abby Smith might not be the number one choice goalkeeper. But
Yeah.
what has changed in that argument? Nothing. We've never asked the question or anywhere in the season, hey, is Abby Smith going to be the number one goalkeeper? Maybe when Jane Campbell is hurt for an extended amount of time, but we've never had that serious conversation because Abby Smith came into this being the number two goalkeeper, and she's been putting up great performances and some okay ones. But overall, she's doing her job as a second choice goalkeeper. And I think that's really what should count here.
Yeah, I think so. It's like I think when you see, I think a reason why I mentioned that, I think not just because I think if she's going to battle, I think injuries come up, and when you see a performance like this past weekend, and I get it, I think you're only good as your last game, and when you see that performance, you're like, is it time to move on for it and trust a younger goalkeeper? But then you'll be in this other situation, the opposite, the lateral. If you put a younger goalkeeper when Jane's hurt, you won't know what you expect from her. You don't know the performance you get, and you will have more of these performances than the outstanding performance that you got from Abby Smith.
Mhm.
So it's very you you don't know what you wish for. I think at this point, like you said, we hope it's saying Jane is number one.
I I have a question for you if we're talking
Oh
about this conversation of poor performances. This is a player that has been brought on to pretty much start, and we haven't really seen the starting level performances. Clarissa Larissi has
yeah,
kind of been
I, I, I,
on
I,
a.
I'm just gonna go to that, but I think I just want to go for that. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, my question to you is if we're talking about Abby Smith having one really poor performance, why aren't we observing a Clarissa Larissi and really asking the question of why did we bring her on? What do you think should continue to back her and give her a full season, or what have you seen from her? If we're already so harsh on Abby Smith for a poor performance.
I think both. I think both strikers, not just only her, but Messiah Bright. We don't have a clinical, her not even just a informed striker. Not even just I get it. I think I don't think I would give benefit of Carissa Larissi. It's because she has to rapidly get into season form at the worst time. Just like happens to players that go to MLS. That come during the summer transfer window. You know, they have to rapidly get into form, get into game fit, while maybe the majority of the league is already in that mindset and pushing for playoffs. And we have that one player, okay, trying to catch up. And I get that. That's why Clarissa had maybe the slow start that she is. Of course, maybe not the start she wanted, but I would give her next season, maybe just the first half of the season. If she continues that slump, I think it was time to chop her off. But I think you brought up a good point. I think both of the strikers, not just only Clarissa, but Messiah Bright as well. Both strikers haven't been really effective. They have been effective in the system, as in helping players like, uh, Sheehan. Uh, I think Yasmin Ryan now. She has been lining up more in this season, and so it's like, okay, you see the positives of having them maybe hold the ball, getting into actions, but not really much as the strikers themselves who are getting paid to score the goals. Messiah in this season, 24 matches, 2 goals and 1 assist. Clarissa Larissi, you might be a little bit skewed, but it's 8 matches. Mostly most of all off the bench, but 1 goal and 1 assist. So basically, from your two main strikers, you're getting a total of 3 goals and 2 assists, while everyone else is pushing the goals. So I think there is a huge need in the striker position. I think if you ask me who should I move on, I'll move on Messiah Bright before I move on Clarissa Larissi.
So
Reason why?
you're backing her for a full
No, I'm not.
season?
No, I'm not. I'm not backing. And I'm saying that I'm backing Clarissa as to being the number one striker. But
Okay.
if I give time, I would give it more to Clarissa just because only 8 matches, trying to rush into form to match fitness compared to the rest of the defense that she's up against who are in the fitness. I think that's my only question mark. But like I said, if I'll give the first half of the season when she has a full preseason, when she is into fitness like the rest of the team are, and she's still putting up these performances, then I'll be like, okay, you know what? It's time to move on. But I will cut Messiah Bright and get another striker that will either be the number one striker or compete with Clarissa Larissa. Most likely a striker that will be your trademark or your starting number 9. Just someone different, someone that's gonna uh m- just score goals. I think I'm tired of relying on the midfield. I'm tired of relying on Sheehan having a worldie. I'm tired of maybe Yasmin Rai will sneak in with a shot, because even though she is part of the forward line, but she's mostly part of the midfield and part of the support for the striker. Of course, she can score goals, but that's not mainly her role. You know,
Mhm.
and Kiki as well. I like to appreciate you do expect your midfield to score goals. Their goals make the difference of winning or losing. But your goals are supposed to come from your striker, not from them. So, that's my only caveat. I would love to have a striker in the beginning of next season. Somehow, some way, get a striker.
Mhm. I mean, fair. The only thing I'm kind of hesitant about is just giving Clarissa Larissi that first starting spot like right away, just because she hasn't played a full season. I think she's still talented enough to really compete in this league. I don't have a doubt about that. I think
Mhm.
even when she doesn't score, she puts herself in good positions and in good movements and everything. Um, I just think it is important for us to get a starting quality striker. That way, because you look at other competing teams in the NWSL, if their best player goes down, if their best offensive player goes down, it does not matter. They will find somebody that can score. And I think the Dash right now, we have somebody that isn't scoring, and then we sign somebody that isn't scoring, and to no fault of their own because they just got picked up and they're forced to score goals. But like you can't you can't sustain success with that kind of model. You need a quality striker that you know is getting X amount of goals,
Mhm.
X amount of goals. Even if it's 4 goals a season, you know they're getting 4 goals a season. Right now, I don't know how many goals our strikers are going to get at all. It could be zero. It could be 50. I don't know, but we need a player that you know 100% is going to be up there and is going to be making the right plays, but also giving you a X amount of goals. It doesn't matter if it's 4 or 40. You need somebody to base that kind of because you need. Hey, what if you're basing your offensive scheme on pushing the midfielders forward? That's what Fabrices love to do. but we still need that one player to move the defense in order to create open shots for the midfielders. So it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, you might not have an offensive scheme where the striker is the biggest benefactor when it comes to goals, but you still need them to be deadly enough for defenses to kind of get sucked into that pressure, and then from the midfielders to really be the real agents there.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I think the only thing is that the Dash should not be afraid to release players that does not work for them in their system. I think
Mhm,
for instance, like what I see in BFC, they
mhm,
brought Assad Shawala from Barcelona, and she hasn't planned
mhm,
out at all
mhm,
in the NWSL or at BFC. And this past summer window, they let her go to Al Hilal. They
mhm,
let her go to Al Hilal. Their first, literally, Al was their first signing as a franchise and their big money move, and she didn't pan out, and they let her go. So I think
mhm,
the Dash should do the same, release players that or let go of players that didn't work out for them, and get players that will fit in the system and fit what they will do. I think is once the season ends, I think we'll have a more deeper dive of who should, you know, what the Dash should do, what they should look for, who should we look. We go deeper dive on the roster and everything. But I think for right now, I think it's just the glaring errors just showed in this past game, and hopefully that the team will will make a turnaround or do something. I think when we go review this KC game, it's like I get it. We're 6 points away. There's only 2 games left, so basically win your next 2 games and see how the results go. But it's very hard because basically if if you look at the table, if Portland, San Diego, or Racing gets a draw at any point, that's basically that's it. Basically that's
mhm,
it. So no matter what you do with KC, if you get the win or not, it's basically that's the season. So it's very hard to be optimistic at this point. But my think before we're going on to preview for the KC game, the Dash, you of course announced there were two things: the international call-ups next. After this matchup, there's two international uh, uh, windows. I think we'll talk about it next week, but just to let everyone know, for USA, Avery Patterson and Yasmin Ryan were called up. I think now with this news with Trini Rodman, I think Yasmin Ryan will, of course, will start. And Avery Patterson, I feel like she starts for every USA game. So
mhm,
those two will have a lot of running for the national team. Uh, Evelina Dujon, she was subbed off in the Angel Sea after being a late substitute in the second half, and really in she was called up for Sweden, and of course, Sarah Putigan was called for Austria. So I think the names you were expecting to be called up were called up, and so I think not really much to talk about, but just I think those are the players that get called up for the national team, and I think it was no big surprise that they were called up again.
mhm. Yeah, just like you said, there's no real surprise there with any of them, and I think at this point in the season, I'm not gonna comment much on like, oh, this is gonna be a big loss for the Dash because I mean,
I think basically after this game is like basically it's like it's
yeah,
if like I
if we
like
don't win, if
if we
there's no
don't
win
win
here, then
if we don't win or the teams lose, pretty much that's pretty much it.
mhm,
So yeah, so it's not really that much of stress on that point. Another thing as well, the Dash announced that they're invited once again to Coachella Valley. It's a little mini tournament, preseason tournament with a selected NWSL teams,
I think it's
basically
4 teams, right?
six teams.
6, okay.
Yeah, 6 teams and I think 18 MLS teams. I can't remember. So
Dang.
yeah, everyone except the Houston Dynamo. I wonder
Mm,
why. But yeah, the Dash gets invited for it, so that's pretty interesting.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's I think that's good for a marketing wise, but also for a getting amount of preseason games against local team, your local competition in this other tournament. So it's good to keep everything in a bubble and having training off between each other. So it's pretty good. So I think it's a good nod for the Dash to be in that preseason. Of course, we won't talk about it until once preseason starts, and we'll get into that as well. But that's pretty much all for news at this point. So let's get into the KC matchup. I think that's a game that I think if you're a Dash fan, you're looking. The KC has been unbeaten. Let me check. Since May 11th, they have been unbeaten.
Mhm.
And so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So anyone who tries to face KC either gets whooped or luckily gets the draw. Only two teams have drawn against them in this period, this stretch of unbeaten streak: Orlando Pride and Washington Spirit. And so you basically are rooting for the Dash to break their streak this Saturday, which seems
Mhm.
impossible, even though the Dash are home. I think it's a tall tale. It's a tall tale. You have the KC on a high. You have KC that has been just dominating everyone. I can't mention players like Labonta. I think Michelle Cooper. I think, which is interesting. There have been still in the show without players like Dabinia, who I think at the beginning of the season was on a high, on a tear, but she has cooled off, and yet the KC has been electric. You got Ali Setnar, who has made that huge move from you know leaving basically Utah and then and the shallow realm basically, and just like going to KC is like and
That's
you think
paradise right there.
yeah, basically, yeah, and but she hasn't been scoring goals, like she was
Yeah.
in Utah, but yet KC is still managing to get these wins, Chewinga, as well. She has been coming back from a little knock, and she has been electric, and so it's like you see these games, you see like, okay, they just have a lot of firepower, and you're like, how would the Dash get anything from this game? So I think that's my first question to you. How would the Dash? They're literally the even though I feel like last week was the season that was on the line. This is just the season's on the line as well for I think playing for pride. I think at this point as well.
No, at this point you're playing and praying.
Yeah.
I think there's not really much else to say. This is David Goliath. This is the type of game where it's like how the Dash go into this game and how they perform. Not really what the result is, but how they perform at least, and how their work ethic is, and how they really go out. I think that's going to be extremely telling when it comes to the identity that this team really is.
Yeah.
I think this Angel City loss, yes, it was a poor performance, but they played kind of like the same way that we've expected them to play. This is really where the team is going to be tested from every single
Mhm.
corner. So I think this is a game where you got to show yourself. You got to show who
Yeah.
you are.
Is it safe to say if the Dash gets scores on the first 10 minutes, just turn off the TV?
Yeah.
If the Dash gets scored on within the first 10 minutes, I just like turn off the TV or just go home at this point because it's like
Don't
no.
go home. I wouldn't say to go home. I would say go sit.
I know that I may figuratively because I just like I think it's like
Apparently, go across the street to the Dynamo watch party.
go to the cross the street to watch the Dynamo Crossfire, which is another game that's irrelevant at the point as well because the Dynamo are out of the playoffs. So it's like why have a watch party instead of inside the Shell Energy Stadium? after the game, but that's another point I'm not going to discuss right now. But yeah, it's just I think if the dash, like you say, I think the dash will show if they. I mean, like, after a loss, the dash usually picks themselves up even
Mhm.
better. I realize I see that dash will always pick themselves up and play a little bit better. Maybe not get the result, but play a little bit better. Play for pride, and I think this game will be another option of that for them to do that. The dash needs a win. Dash needs to win, and more than ever. And so I think with Fabrice, I mentioned in the post game of with the Angel City, they've been outdogged, they've been outnumbered, and so get get that back. I think the Dash were known to get to do that, and now to get it back and and try something, and improve a point. You know, uh, even if okay, here's my thing. Even if the Dash misses the playoffs, which is I think no one expected them to be in the playoffs in the first place.
Mhm.
If they win against this KC and break their own streak, does that give you hope for the next season,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
or even maybe closes this season on a high note? Be like,
Oh.
even though we missed
Mhm.
the playoffs, but we show this team can go, be something next season.
Yeah. A win here is gonna be so much noise when it comes to this dash team, and I think the thing that you should be asking for outside of a playoff spot is momentum. Going into the off season, ready, hopeful for the next season. I think the way that you finish a season, even if you're not making the playoffs, is especially important, and a win here would be instrumental.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, man, I think just thinking about this game just makes me sleepy because it's like I know it's gonna be just a bad game, but it's just like, man, but it's yeah. I think you if at the end of the day, if the Dash does not make the playoffs, a win here just creates a huge morale boost just because it's the last game of the season for the Dash. The last game is at home. I think all anyone who's gonna be there is probably a Dash supporter that has been
Mhm.
there throughout the whole season and wants to see the last game and wants to see them win on a high. And did they see win on a high against the number one seed rank in Supporter Shield winners, KC? I think it's gonna be a good omen for next season. I think is that you identify and you feel more confident on the leadership. Ownership. We don't know yet. It's just so much. Still having no progress on that, but I think you feel more confident on the way the team is going from there. But before we close out, your predictions, Diego, for this game. We
I
know
think we're losing. That team is just so good. That team is so good. That KC team is just so good. And I know Ted Lasso, wherever they're filming season 4, is so happy. 3-0 loss.
3-0 loss. I know. I I say 3-1. I say 3-1.
Okay.
The cynical in me is that the Dash will get the first goal and then create hopes, and then Casey just comes in and with the belt and be like, Psh. I'll be like, that's it. I just want some happiness in the season, but that's pretty much it. But we'll see. It's very hard. It's very hard to if you're a Dash fan just to have hope, but it's just I think it's a good benchmark. It's a good benchmark. You strive to beat Casey, even though Casey technically is the Dash's rival, closest rival, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for them. Just the way they face each other, the way they approach the game, and the way they talk trash to each other. I feel like this is the closest rival they have, and so gain a win against your rival is one of the best things you ever want to go out with. So
Hmm.
we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So please tune in on Saturday night. See if your Houston Dash gets something from this game. and we'll talk about it. We'll highlight it. If we have hope for the playoffs, then we'll have hope. If not, we'll kind of regroup, think about our thoughts, think about the international window, think about we have one more week between the end of nail the coffin for the season to be over. But it is what it is. So we'll see. We'll hopefully we just get something, something nice
Yeah,
to
I
talk
just
about.
yeah.
But it is what it is. But thank you all for joining in for another edition for the Origin Blueprints. Please always look out for us at biocesoccer.net. Always look at us as BioC Soccer on Instagram, X, YouTube, Blue Sky, Threads, just to all your social media platforms, and it will be showing up as well. You know, this season's about it. It feels like just man, I just think about it. It just feels like back in February, March, when just how quick time flies. Just how quick how the season is going,
Mhm.
and just is about to be closed in less than 3 weeks. So it's just wow. But always look out for also our sponsors for Ugly Guppy, El Bravos, and for We Got Soccer as well. We'll come again. Stay tuned next week. We'll see what the Houston Dash will cook or uncook, or not even cook at all. So we'll see how things will roll out. Well, thanks for all. Come, welcome, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.